from Brodes Media, Hunter Brody, one of our favorite guests when he joins us. You got a man bun going today? You just got the straight hat? I missed the man bun. Or did you get a haircut?
No, stop it. It's in the back. I'm hiding it. You know what I'm saying?
What's up, Brodes?
What's up, boys? Boys, I'm stoked, man. This is incredible. You won't hear me bitching and complaining. I don't know if Jody or Farty, I don't know if you
yeah? Wait till I ask you about Cal Peterson, that bum. 5
we're going Flyers?
Periods. Yeah, we're going to talk all Flyers. No, I'm kidding, of course.
We're going Flyers preseason hockey there, Jody. See what you do when you bring me on? It's dangerous.
And, well, all right, fine. Since Farzy went there, I'll ask a follow-up question.
Oh, God.
Was Joshua Harris there?
Oh, God, that's a great question. I do not know.
The Devils beat the Flyers last night, 6-0, right? I read that. Yeah. I sure as hell didn't see any of that, but I read it somewhere that they got beat 6-0 by the. Was Joshua Harris in the house for last night's game?
I don't know. He was either that or preparing for a Commanders game. I don't really know. Definitely not anything Sixers related.
So Brodes thinks he's a hockey guy, but he can't even tell us if Joshua Harris was at the game last night when the Devils beat the Flyers. So let's get back to football, Brody. You're pumped up, not because of the Flyers, because, they lost 6-0. The Eagles 25-11 win. What impressed you most about the victory?
Their offensive line is the most dominant thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Both lines, honestly. There's no one that's going to stop this. The only thing that stops this is the sod father in Arizona. Other than that, every team has to pray because these trenches are just unbeatable. They're unbeatable. We have like two versions of Aaron Donald in Jordan Davis. Yeah, I'm saying even Jordan Davis because I didn't think he'd be able to get to the quarterback. And at this point, he's already kind of threw that into his game too. Thought he was just a run stopper, but no. So between him and Jalen Carter, and even Fletch looks like he's 21 years old. This team in the trenches is too dominant. So they're just unstoppable in the trenches, and that's how you win in this league.
Jody and Brodes, I know we all played sports. Jody, Brodes, you played at a pretty damn high level. When it comes to the coach coming in the locker room or the dressing room, whatever, and he says that speech about, you guys think you're good enough just to show up and win? You're not. It's like, I can imagine that speech being happening to the Eagles, but they are very close to just showing up and winning. That's what they've done in the first 3 games of this season. They've been far from their best game. They've been far from their best brand of football, but they show up, they grind it out in the trenches, and they win. That's pretty damn good. And when you talk about the trenches, Brodes, that's the number one reason they've won these games is being able to get after the quarterback and being able to run the football. So on the other side of this, what do they need to do to finally get to that next gear? We know they can run, but we know they can get after the passer as well. What do they need to do in order to get that pass game finally going consistently in this offense?
It seems more miscommunication than anything. You saw the one play with Goddard. He goes to the inside. Looked like Hurts wanted to go more towards the outside, and it went into no man's land. And then, who was it? DeAndre Swift in the passing game. It goes right into the breadbasket there for an interception. I just think you got to iron out the kinks. You're working with Brian Johnson. He's going through a different part of his career. He's never done this at this level before. And, keep in mind, you are playing very impressive defensive coordinators. Now, you're probably always going to, especially when you get to the postseason, but you're talking Bill Belichick on the road. You're talking Brian Flores, and now on the road again with an undefeated team in Tampa, a Todd Bowles. I'm sure that there's an element with that too. At the same time, though, if you want to reach the ultimate goal and win the Lombardi, there's probably going to be a sharp defensive mind on the other side. So you got to figure it out at some point. But it just seems like miscommunication stuff that I think over time they clean up naturally just by playing more. And I thought yesterday was a step in a direction, getting A.J. Brown involved. It seems like they're getting the ball in their playmakers' hands and then letting them going instead of forcing some deep shots. The one time they did to Devontae Smith, it gets picked off there for the 1 yard line, even though it resulted in a safety, so it ends up working out. I think it's just more time working together without Shane Steichen. Shane had a great feel, nonstop. It seemed every single week he put this team in a great position with flow. I don't know if Brian Johnson or him have that yet. Quite frankly, they don't. And maybe our expectations were too high because of their relationship. We were like, yeah, this is going to be great. And we forgot to realize that this takes a little bit of time,
Brodes, let's run under the assumption that the Eagles next week, and it'll, of course, be game-dependent score and everything else. But let's say the Eagles run the ball as often as they did last night, this next week coming up against the Commanders. Last night in 40 runs, 40. The breakout was Jalen Hurts 10, which includes a couple of the tush pushes, and no one's got a problem with the tush push. Everybody likes a tush push because it always works and gives the Eagles either a first down or a touchdown. So Jalen's going to get his runs, tush pushes included. Kenny Gainwell, DeAndre Swift, 40 runs last week. How do you want to see those runs break out next week? Last night it was Gainwell 16. Swift 16, Gainwell 14, Hurts 10. Do you like the breakdown between those, or do you think that needs to be tinkered with going forward?
Well, the fear is if you give Swift more carries, is he going to break down eventually and not be available, which I understand when you look at his track record in Detroit. But I think 14 for Gainwell is too much. I saw a couple drives where they were force feeding the rock to Gainwell, and I go, what are we doing here? Even the 4th and 2, I like the idea of actually going for it. They've shown the opposite through the first couple of weeks. It was, we're going to play, they would have kicked a field goal there, but they like to play the field game, and let's punt. It's 3rd and 10. We'll throw a screen pass to Devontae. 3rd and 9, we'll run it. Like, what are we doing here? That's soft. I hate it. At least they took a step in the right direction to go for it, but are we utilizing Gainwell there? I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. Love the idea, but not the thought process on the play call. I need to see Swift get more. There's something special about the way he's hitting these holes. Miles Sanders had very similar gaps, and I wasn't seeing him take off like this. He hits these holes differently, and it's massive. He needs to get way more of the carries.
Let me add to your point, because it's a good one, Honor. It's the same offensive line for Kenny Gainwell, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kenny Gainwell went 14 for 43. DeAndre Swift goes 16 for 130. It's the same guys. Did they feel the need to open up the hole even bigger for DeAndre Swift? Is that what we're saying here? No, he's just a better back. Swift's just a better back.
By far. I don't need, and no, I said this on my show too. No disrespect to Sanders, with full understanding that I'm completely disrespecting him. This is insane what DeAndre Swift does. It's different. It is so different. He's like a real pure runner that I'm excited to see work with this line. Cam Jurgens, by the way, center, whatever, right guard, plowing through everybody. This is amazing. I'm feeling great today.
Yeah, I said earlier, a lot of doctorates are being handed out at Stoutland University, and Cam Jurgens is the latest one. Dancing is the term we'd always hear with Miles Sanders. We heard it with LaShawn McCoy. DeAndre Swift just gets up there and he goes. And if he needs to wait for that downbeat, he hits it. We've talked about it a lot on the show. But I want to ask you this about something else, and it's kind of a surprise this season, and especially with injuries to the core. What is the most surprising thing to you so far about this football team? Because I look at the linebackers, and I am very pleasantly surprised by Zach Cunningham, Nicholas Morrow, the fact that they're so far down the depth chart that these guys are actually coming in here and they're producing. Got a safety last night, Nicholas Morrow did. Yes, with help from the defensive tackles getting that big push. But I'm most surprised with the linebackers. Where are you at?
Yeah, no, that's a good answer for sure. I'll lean a different way, but it makes sense. Sometimes you even lose sight that yesterday, Sean Desai is working with a lot of just, hey, here's a bunch of stuff, go make it work. And I guess it is easier for your secondary to have success when the front of your defensive line is plowing people the way they are. But I'm going to go, I guess this is sort of a negative, which I don't know why my brain went here, and I've been so far. But it's just the turnovers for Hurts. I just didn't expect him to have this many turnovers because he's so smart with the football. And I don't expect that to carry over and be like this huge talking point for the whole year. But I don't know. You force the ball into double coverage. We've seen that happen a couple times. That's not part of his DNA. If anything, it's the complete opposite. So I expect it to clean up. I'm not super, super scared of it. But through the first couple of weeks, with them being 3-0, it really shows you how impressive they are for your quarterback to turn it over as much as they are and still be in this position to be undefeated. Go ahead, Farzad.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, did you hear the thing he said after the game last night about the first interception of the game? This was fascinating. He gets asked about, hey, on the interceptions, what did you see? What happened? And Hurts takes a beat, and he goes, yeah, I'm not going to be that guy. Second one, I threw up, and I thought I could make the throw, and D-back made a great play. And they were like, and the first one? He goes, yeah, the first one. And then I think it was Jeff McClain that asked the question, miscommunication? And Hurts is like, yeah, we'll go with that. Miscommunication.
Wow.
So it made me, that's saying it without saying it, that DeAndre Swift, I don't know if he ran the wrong route, essentially. And by the way you saw the throw, they were obviously not on the same page. Nick Sirianni, when he addressed the media, said they weren't on the same page. That was a miscommunication. So miscommunication, I think, would be the way to say it, or DeAndre Swift didn't understand the route he was supposed to run.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just say we won the game. Next
Well,
question.
He did say that a number of times. So
the
maybe
main thing. That's Jalen's new favorite quote. We talked about this earlier, Hunter. Need your input on it as well. Landon Dickerson through 3 games. I know everyone is seeing Jalen Carter, and he's looking like a all-world player through 3 games. It's only 3 games, but damn, he looks dominant on almost every single snap. We get less of an individual feel for it on the offensive line, but you talked about those holes that are gaping for DeAndre Swift to run through. Cam Jurgens is a big part of that. Is he going to be the right tackle for like the next decade? He was drafted to be Kelsey's replacement. Do you just move him because it's Stoutland University and you can move the pieces around wherever you want? Cam Jurgens will beat somebody up this week. And oh, by the way, the Commanders, I think the Eagles will handle them this week. But if they've got anything going for them, it's their defensive line. So the offensive line actually does have to go to work this week. Where is Cam Jurgens' future headed, as per you, Brodes?
Well, I did watch the documentary. I think a lot of people did watch the documentary. I know one day is going to happen, and I think we are closer to it than we've ever been before, although we say that every single year. I think eventually he does get slotted into that center position because I just don't know how much longer Jason Kelce could do this. It's unbelievable. He's taking all those pills, and then when it's not the off season or the season anymore, he can't take the inflammatory pills anymore. I don't know how he does it. 5 years ago, we should have hung him up. But I do think Cam Jurgens will eventually be taking those snaps. And I guess I wouldn't be shocked if I'm wrong because, well, Jason Kelce could play another 15 years and we'd all be screaming our heads off at the link. But I think that eventually you'll see Cam Jurgens taking those center snaps. I think. I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think
don't really know.
Yeah. Well, the writing's on the wall with Tyler Steen. I think they drafted a guy to be a guard of the future. They drafted a guy to be a center of the future, and right now they're just kind of waiting their turn. So I think the writing's on the wall as far as that goes. And then another draft class comes out and they fall in love with somebody else. But as of right now, I think, Cam Jurgens is the guy moving forward. Now, not to stay in the negative realm here because it is a 3-0 team, but how many defensive backs, how many safeties, Brodes, can this team go through in the first 3 weeks of the season? Because they are certainly making it interesting. Is there anyone that you see finally coming up here as the next man up and maybe grabbing the bull by the horns?
I don't know. Maybe it's Josh Jobe. Maybe with some more snaps and some more run at it. They did take advantage of, it was one play, but they did take advantage of Bradbury maybe being a little new in the slot, and they got a nice angle there, which created some nice ball movement for them and moved the chains. But maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's Josh Jobes. You know, they like Eli Ricks. Maybe there's something to this. And this was my philosophy when I saw them go out and snag all of these young guys, these young corners with great resumes in college, LSU, Alabama. You know that Howie Roseman will do everything in his power not to draft a cornerback high. So how can you get around that? Let's put a bunch of them in a cornerback room and someone has to pop off, right? And I think that's what he's betting on. And maybe the answer is a Josh Jobe. And Sidney Brown, by the way, saves the touchdown on Mike Evans.
Play.
We know that kid's going to be able to play. So maybe they can sustain this because there's someone waiting in the cornerback room that can dominate whenever they need to. So the one thing I always say, I say this with the Phillies bullpen, I'll tie it together with the Eagles in a second, and even the starting rotation. Maybe in the postseason, it's unconventional. It's a way you didn't think it was. You thought it was Wheeler and Nola, but instead it's Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez, baby, right? Or Kirkering out of the pen. Who the hell would have thought that? Well, maybe by the end of this puppy, it's Eli Ricks that's a stud on the outside, but we would have never thought that a million years from now. I'm just spitballing. Maybe it's Jobe. It's going to be someone in that room, though, and that's my answer to it. I think they can sustain it because really the beefy men up front.
But let me take you in a different direction. Because we still got like 35 days, but I think the NFL trade deadline is until Halloween this year. They've just nice and easy and kind of under wraps pushed it back. I remember when the NFL trade deadline was after like week 3. The NFL trade deadline would be like today on the calendar. And they wondered why, nobody makes trades in the NFL in season. Because, you need to make a decision whether you're a bad team or good team too quickly. So they've done a nice job and have pushed it back to right where it should be. You know, Howie Roseman wants to do something. Howie lives to do something. Howie likes to roll the dice. I think that all the speech you just gave, all the names they have, as many as it is on the roster, I think he's going to trade for another cornerback.
No.
With Devontae Maddox being done for the year, either just completely commit to Bradford in the slot and get a better than Josh Jobe cornerback, or go out and get a true slot corner if he's available and put Bradbury back where he belongs on the outside. If I told you I asked you what position you think Howie will make a deal for at the trade deadline, what position is that, Brodes?
Defensive line. You know they love it, baby. Defensive line. Let's get more.
When in doubt, revert to the defensive line. You got a good argument there, brother.
Before this game, I will say that when they were saying, "Oh, we have in-house options," I go, well, "Okay, yeah, I know how." Guess what? I'm sure the Jets have an in-house option at backup quarterback too, right? How's Zach Wilson working out? I didn't trust him.
I got something in my eye. I got something in my eye there. Let me get that out there. All right, thank you, Brodes.
Yeah. But on jokes aside, I mean, that was with my thought, though. Bradbury stays on the outside, and then they try Goodrich in the slot, and maybe he's overwhelmed, and then they try and go get some sort of slot corner. But maybe they tried something different and they liked it. I don't know, but maybe they do. Maybe they do go get somebody awesome, and they go throw him on the outside opposite of Slay, and it's phenomenal and a huge upgrade. I don't know. Maybe they do, but I think yesterday maybe gave them more confidence than I would have thought. I don't know. It looked better than I thought it would. Maybe Howie feels the same way. I'm not in Howie's mind now. It's a scary place to be, I think. I did see real quick. I did see before I hopped on as I was waiting. You know how we always get burned by the video of Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor and the Vikings during the draft. I just saw the Chicago Bears version of that for when the Eagles made the call to jump up and go get Carter.
Wow.
Hey, how's Justin Fields doing? Oh, God. Hey.
Johnny Mack likes to note that the Bears had two chances to take him. They could have just taken him at number 1 and held on to the pick and not traded it. Would have been a good pick. And they're sitting there at number 9. Could have still gotten him at number 9. And they go, nah, Eagles, you want him? Go ahead. You give us a little draft capital to drop down one slide. Perfectly fine. Yeah, go ahead. Crazy. Not good, Chicago. That organization's a dumpster fire.
Brodes, I definitely put it as the favorite for the Eagles to get defensive line help at the trade deadline. That's the odds-on favorite. You're not getting good money there. Right after that is probably the secondary. It's a cornerback position. I know Budda Baker is on IR right now.
Yeah.
I just love that name still being attached to the Eagles, even after he was placed on IR. I wouldn't be shocked, and this is what really surprised me last night. Now, maybe it was just down to their final options, but Sidney Brown being put in the nickel for a little bit before he got hurt, I thought that was fascinating. And it made me think, all right, maybe they decide to go after a safety position and they move Sidney Brown into their nickel corner for the remainder of the season. But one thing, and I know the play you're talking about is specifically with James Bradbury, was early in the second quarter, and I think it was Chris Godwin that beat him in the slot. And it was like he might as well have not even been standing there because he just got burned. But yeah, that didn't put a good taste in my mouth for the rest of the game. And then the Eagles, of course, with their defensive line more than anything, were able to step up defensively.
Yeah, for sure. And normally when McMullen's on here, we always find a way when I'm on to throw in Jim Schwartz's name. So I just want to do that randomly. It makes no sense. But speaking of things I saw before the show, there was another thing on Twitter. Man, Jim Schwartz out in Cleveland. What a hell of a job. The guy just got burned here in this town. Let's get a little standing up for my guy, Jim Schwartz. I got to send that clip to McMullen. Anyway, what else you guys got?
He'll appreciate that. Yeah, I saw the same thing, like third or fourth, like in the history of the National Football League, through 3 games, least yards allowed. Ridiculous how good the Browns defense has been through 3 games, and that is Jim Schwartz. Yeah,
Jim Schwartz.
Johnny loves Jim Schwartz. And oh, by the way, there was one nice play that Godwin made. He only had 3 catches all game, and he's I think Ruben Frank in his points, Ruben's takes. Ruben's insights. I forget what they call it.
Observations. 10 observations.
I knew if I kept going through verbs, I'd get there sooner
I'm not
or
going to
later.
cut you off, but I will. I saw you tweet like 3 a.m. shift yesterday. Now you're popping the 8 a.m. show, and maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, I can't come up with the word observation. But I do remember what Rube wrote. he had at least 5 catches for 20 straight games or something like that. And the Eagles ended up holding him to 3 last night. So if one was kind of Bradbury not close to covering him, overall, they shut down Godwin last night. So good job out of the Eagles. All right. Jalen Hurts, 2 picks last night. We talked about one, didn't talk about the other. He throws it up. The kid from Tampa makes a nice play, but comes down at the 1-yard line. The Eagles get a safety the next play anyway. For me, that like wipes out the interception. If you score on the immediate play thereafter, it's as good as a field goal. So, Jalen, don't sweat that interception. He hasn't been as good as he was last year when he was runner-up for the MVP. Something to do with him, something to do with the work that they need to get in with a new coordinator, the relationship between he and the new offense coordinator who he's known since he's 5 years old. What do you think is the main reason? And I'm not saying he's playing bad. He's just not playing as well as he did last year, where he was almost the damn MVP. What's the main reason for it, bros?
I think the main reason would be just the new offensive coordinator, him and Brian Johnson working together to get a feel on how to make this thing work. I'd say that's the main reason. But if you're looking at a pie chart, there's a lot of reasons to factor in too. Look, the expectations are super high to being a robot. It's pretty hard to sustain. And I don't always like to look around the league and compare Jalen Hurts to other quarterbacks. But, Pat Mahomes, outside of this Bears game where they just dominated in front of Taylor Swift. I don't know if you guys happen to see that Taylor Swift was in the game or at the game. You know what I mean?
But Taylor Swift?
America has seen that Taylor Swift was in the game. And that's all inclusive. Everyone breathing in America right now has seen it.
Absolutely. So outside of that, it wasn't like Pat Mahomes and that offense was destroying the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I didn't catch too much of the game last night because I was, unless they do the double box. Double box, get the hell off my TV. But Joe Burrow hasn't been lighting the lamp either. So maybe there's just, and they're great quarterbacks. Obviously, Joe Burrow's fantastic. I would love for him to be my franchise QB, but there's got to be something to this new start of a season after the no training camp thing and all that. Now, this is where I look at this team and say they're 3-0. You know what it takes the Miami Dolphins to be 3-0? Putting up 70 damn points. Like, that's what this league normally is to be 3-0. So for you to do that while not playing your best ball, it's scary once you think about them, getting their foot where it needs to be. But I think the main reason to answer your question is OC, him, relationship, some new concepts, a feel-out process of calling a game for Brian Johnson. But there's a lot of elements here. I think the expectations of him being a robot is a little unfair. It's like this guy needs to be perfect and pick up right automatically at the exact point he was last year. Teams, it's a copycat league, right? Teams will look at the Eagles last year like that was an explosive offense. That's fantastic. They go to the tape all offseason and look at tendencies and look at all this, not just for, hey, they're on our schedule and we need to prepare for them, but just what can we incorporate into our game that Shane Steichen and Hurts did? Like, they're one of the best offense in the league. I think the league picks up on tendencies, and now it's your job to counter what they countered with. And that takes a little bit of time too, especially with an inexperienced OC in there.
I absolutely agree. Now, I am a huge Jalen Hurts fan. I think Jalen Hurts is going to regain MVP form, be an MVP caliber quarterback, be a perennial MVP candidate. So now that I've said all that, the scariest thing for me, though, there's been some play calls, red zone calls I haven't been a big fan of, the personnel and the play call, for instance, to be more specific on the 4th and 2, 4th and 1, where they went for it with Kenny Gainwell. That just was mind-boggling to me in the first possession of the game. But Jalen Hurts, just trying to grade him and just look at him. The throw that he made, I think it was in Minnesota, where people talking about him throwing into double coverage. Like, there was really nobody close to making a play. Like, it wasn't like he sailed it. He made a horrible decision and put the precious pigskin in peril, and it was picked off. And then last night, here's what I didn't like about the throw that he tried to make down the field that, yes, eventually was turned around to be a safety for the Eagles. So it was a 1st and 10. You're up 20-3 at that point. And he just decided to air it out late in the third quarter on a 1st and 10 play where it just was unnecessary. You didn't need to do it. I didn't like it. No, that particular play, I didn't like that. Why didn't you go for the juggler? Go for the juggler. You got 3 minutes left in the third quarter. You have control of the game.
Quick 6, just completely end the game right there.
Okay, you're not ending the game. You're not ending the game at that point.
I'm with you, Farzy. I didn't like it either.
And look, I give all the credit in the world. Defensive back made a great play. I'm just judging that specific play. I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't like it. And look, and he also missed a throw. The other thing that happened was on that before they even tried to go for it on the fourth down. I think it was Zacchaeus. He underthrew Zacchaeus on a ball that if he just leads him a little bit, it's a touchdown. And it was almost an interception in the end zone. They almost didn't even have the opportunity to have that fourth down opportunity there or to go for it on fourth down. But overall, last night's game, I saw sustained. I mean, to call them flashes, I guess, is not right, but not accurate. But it was the most sustained success I had seen from drive to drive from Jalen Hurts, where it was a really good drive, really good possession, little shaky, really good drive, really good possession, little shaky, maybe a bad decision. But overall, I thought it was the best performance we had seen from him so far this year.
Yeah, for sure. And think about this, and I'm sure you guys mentioned before I hopped on here, 9 minutes and 22-second drive after they make it a 14-point game. Your quarterback's doing something with that. And I think they need to find another layer to the Dallas Goedert portion of this offense, but I hate the little screen pass or the pass in the flat for him. It just hasn't really worked out. But he did find Dallas Goedert open when Todd Bowles is bringing some guys, and you can see them swarming Hurts, and it's out quick. Goddard or A.J. Brown getting the ball in the playmaker's hands. 9 minutes and 22-second drive. Your quarterback's doing something right where you don't even allow the other team to get a chance after they make it a 14-score game and feel some sort of good about themselves. And keep in mind, it took a Mike Evans one-handed catch where he's riding Reed Blankenship's back for that to even happen. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like sometimes when we start nitpicking, you'll always find throws in an NFL game, no matter who the quarterback is, that, he missed this guy, he missed that guy. And to the other side of that, you'll find good throws too. You know what I mean? Like you can also nitpick the great throws and point them out. But I thought A.J. Brown dropped a touchdown in the back of the end zone there. They didn't show the replay. And even the one where it was a little bit of a high throw, but A.J. Brown still had two hands on that football. Yeah. Right. And then I think it was week 1, they challenged the play. It bobbled in A.J. Brown's hands there as he was going at it. There's some really good completions that aren't on the stat sheet. A couple A.J. Brown touchdowns when Penny gets the flag, and then the no defensive pass interference call in week 2. So there's a lot that I think are great for this offense that will be staples, really. Getting A.J. Brown the football for touchdowns, that's going to pan out. That maybe hasn't worked out for them in the early stages, that will turn it around. So, I'd say, is this fair so far for Jalen Hurts? He's been C+ through 3 weeks. Is C+ a fair grade, or where do you guys stand on that?
Yeah, that's right around where I would log him in. C+.
I'd put him around there. If I didn't see last year be so great, maybe it'd be a little higher. But
he set the bar himself.
The ceiling has been raised.
High, so that's why grading on a curve. I like your C+ there. All right. Thanks. And by the way, Dallas Goedert, major thumbs up. 8 yards per catch. Last week, 6 catches for 22 yards. So his yards per catch going up precipitously. So we'll have faith that it'll continue to go up with Dallas Goedert. All right, Brodes, last thing. Go positive or negative, wherever you feel you must. The thing that concerns you most about the Washington Commanders coming to town this week to take on the Philadelphia Eagles is what?
Nothing. Thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast.
Get the hell out.
Nothing. Well, this is the best offensive and defensive line my eyes have ever seen. By the way, I haven't even heard Reddick's name, and I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying, wait for that. It took him a couple weeks last year to get going. He also had the thumb thing, so maybe that's playing a role. But you just wait. All right? Because we got the beefy guys up front doing it from the interior. There's not even enough time for these edge rushers to make it home. But, I'm being honest with you, all jokes aside, nothing. Do you see their quarterback? Nothing. Give me 4. Reed Blankenship's going to get another one. All right, he's going to do a little dance in the end zone for another pick.
Before you go, I just have to commend you. You used a hockey term in football. Joe Burrow isn't lighting the lamp. So,
did I do
that? But in that same vein, Jody, if I just want to say, hopefully Jalen Hurts starts slapping the biscuit. That's all I'm saying. I just hope he slaps the biscuit. That's all I'm saying.
Where Mama hides the cookies.
Put the biscuit in the basket. There you go. With the touch pass over the top.
There you go.
Do some research. Do some research, Hunter. Find out if Josh Harris was at the Devils' 6-0 win over the Flyers last night. Get on that. Start to work on that.
What a disgrace of a preseason opener, boys. Just pissed.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I like the fact that Hunter Brody said nothing scares me about the Washington Commanders. Bro, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for jumping in, brother.
Thanks, fellas.